All right, what's good, y'all? This is gonna be our weekly outlook coming into the first week of September. So let's hop on over to the SPY chart here, and let me take off all these drawings. And as you can see, we are still looking strong. We're up here, pretty much all-time highs we hit on Thursday. So the day before we closed for the long weekend, we just made new all-time highs here on SPY on the S&P 500. But this week, I'll be looking for a little bit more of a to the downside for the S&P 500. Not only because I feel like we're overextended. We have a lot of just buying up all of these weeks. We just been buying up, and mainly because this weekly candle had closed in range, and when we tried to break out, we got sellers pushing us down. We hit a pretty strong 650 overhead resistance, a psychological whole number on the S&P 500. So I'll be looking for a little bit more to the downside, not only because of that. If you check here, this is the history of S&P 500 since 1928. September has always gone red with all the other markets, with Nasdaq, the Russell 2000, and every other market. So usually September is a red month in the market. So taking that into consideration, we'll be looking for some downside plays. Definitely looking for some pullbacks just because SPY is a little bit overextended here on the daily chart. So, not with that being said, let's go over to some of my plays. I've been looking for swings. I've been looking for a couple of swings right here, and let's see. Let's bring them up. One of my first swings I'm going to be looking at here is Duolingo right here. We fell pretty much down to a strong support here, coming right down to 280s to 260s here on the lingo is what I'm going to be looking for support bounce here. So I feel like we still have a little bit more room to fall before we get this bounce. So I'm definitely going to be looking, setting my levels, looking for some more downside and maybe even catch some day trades off of it, get some puts. And we also have bullish diversions coming up where we got the RSI moving up, MACD slowly moving up while the stock is moving down. So that's just indicating us a bullish diversion here. You can look it up here. This is pretty much how a bullish diversion looks like when the stock is moving down, but the oversold RSI is moving up here. So this gives us a couple confirmations that we could see a nice support bounce here on Duolingo. So that's going to be one of my swing setups that's potentially going to hit this or next week. So that's one of them I'm going to be looking at. The next swing slash long term trade I'm going to be looking at is Lyft. Lyft on the daily chart looks really good, and we have a huge gap play right here. And if you check the balance sheet on Lyft, they just became profitable. So we got a long room to the upside here on Lyft, and we're pretty much here at these lows. So easily, I would say within a year, Lyft could double or triple its value here. So this is more of a longer term play, more of a leap, a year plus option contract I'll be looking to get here on Lyft since we just became profitable. And yeah, it looks really good. And we're starting to break out of this bearish trend line. So if we could get Lyft above, you know, 1750, I'll definitely be calling that out for some leap contracts on Lyft. So this is gonna be more of a patient play, but it could definitely pay 200 to 300% plus here on Lyft, especially once we fill this gap play here. It's gonna be a really good long term play. I'm gonna be keeping an eye out on that. And my next stock that I'm looking for a swing here is CNC. We had a nasty drop off here, and we're really oversold here on this daily chart. Massively oversold with an extreme massive gap fill right here. So let me take off the EMAs. We have a big, huge gap fill right here. And we're having a little bit of a bull flag here from the bottom on CNC. So if we break out above 29.25, I set my alert here. We could look for some continuation to the upside here on CNC as a swing. We can target around 32, 33 plus here and potentially even higher for leaps. But for a swing, if we break out of this bull flag, I'll definitely be looking for around 32 for profit targets here on CNC. And the next ticker I'm going to be looking at is PG, Procter and Gamble. Right here, we are breaking out of this falling wedge pattern. We're breaking out a falling wedge and potentially even retesting it here. If we continue to push up, I would definitely call this out on my swing trade channel. If you look up the falling wedge pattern here on Google, it's gonna be exactly something like this. You know, we're falling down and it's gonna break above, and we could catch the whole move to this upside here on the top of the falling wedge here on Procter Gamble. So we could target to the top of this falling wedge 171 here. If we break up above 157.70s and continue, I'll be calling out a swing trade on that as well. And last but not least, let's see. Not last but not least, I'm gonna be going over NAS 100. I've been trading forex recently, so I'm looking at NAS to the downside here. As you can see, we had a nice push up, then we broke structure to the downside, came up, but we failed to break above, making new highs, and we're pushing back down. So I'm looking at NAS. If we could break these lows over here, we have a good support right here. Right here, we have a good support right here. If we break this support, I'll definitely be looking for that break and retest to the downside on NAS. Break and retest, and we could target these lows here on this forex trade. Just because we have no real contract decay, we could be in this trade for how long? As long as we break under this and hold under this, I'll be targeting to the downside and potentially even these lows here. So I have my alerts set. I have all my levels set. Once my alerts hit, you know, I'm gonna call it out in the chat. We can go here on my Discord. Last week, I had a really high win rate. I took over 15 trades and I only lost about 5 trades. And every time I lost, I always try to keep it 20% max, nothing really over that. And as you can see, at the end of the week, we had a 220% trade on Tesla. We caught that live on my Discord. I called it out here as soon as I got in. Discord got in. People ate off this trade, and this trade really made up, one trade made up all of the red trades I took for the week. So as you can see, my win rate is pretty good. And if I do lose, I'm going to keep them really, really small. But yeah, that's my quick overview on the uh, outlook on the week. Now we're going to go over to Cam. He's going to go over the market data and he's going to go over gold.
Hey, what's up? What's up? So that was a fire breakdown from Pat. Appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir.
I'm not an options trader myself, but hey, technicals are technicals. Like once you got it down on one chart, you pretty much can understand how every market flows. So I love seeing you moving over to forex and tapping into trading NAS and stuff like that. And you can already see the amount of returns you can get in a shorter amount of time compared to like waiting in a certain window trading New York session, but you can only capture trades on that. Like the other day, you caught a really good trade in the evening on Nas.
Yeah, I did.
So with that being said, I myself primarily focus on gold. So that's pretty much what I'm gonna be breaking down here, and let's just see what last week brought us and what we can expect moving into the next week, especially now that it is also the next month. We just started September, so we'll
And,
see how
and
everything goes
gold,
there.
I ain't gonna lie, I think it's gonna break all time highs here. It's been on a crazy bull run.
Oh
Like,
yeah, for sure. So especially now that we have um the rate cut announcement that Jerome Powell made about possibly raising rates, that this impulse that we see right here is like the major reaction from that and anticipation from what is going to happen when they do start cutting rates. And gold has been projected to spike crazy highs, especially the run that it's on. Like you said, this crazy run that it's on right now, it's only maintaining more and more momentum because of all the uncertainty in the market, all these different things going on around the world. So, it's causing people to hedge more into safe haven assets, especially gold. Um, Especially physical gold too. A lot of people are buying physical gold right now, especially
hmm
and all the central banks are accumulating all their gold. Um, a lot of these different things are tying towards why gold is moving the way that it's moving. But we were in this major consolidation that was created in April, and it's been moving sideways now. While we've been able to catch massive and good gains out of this consolidation alone, the major play still is at work, and the major trend is bullish. So, with that being said, we just broke through the bottom of this resistance zone here from when it was created, because as we can see multiple hits at that zone. So sellers sitting here, 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 and here. So, oh shit. So because of that, we just broke through this major zone with this much momentum on a bi-weekly Fibonacci. We see this breakout at the gold zone. This is where this impulse started, and now we hit first target above this where liquidity was sitting at these cells. Broke out it with so much momentum. We're now aiming for the second target point, that 30% or that 61.8, which is also at the top of this resistance zone. So we could see sellers come in, collect this, and then bounce. What we're waiting for is what reaction that causes when price comes here. It could either break out and continue moving towards highs, and that's actually when it will break and create a new high, because the high right now is sitting at $3,500. So we could either see this breakout to the upside on this resistance, or we could see the sellers come in, take over. We wait for a break, a change of structure here to say, okay, we're gonna target these support zones down here. But it's really just wait and see because we're already in this move. It's risky trying to get into either sales right now because we're still at the top of the market. Momentum can keep going. But it's also risky to buy because we're just not sure if this is gonna break. It could spike out here and then come back down and move to the downside. So we just gotta wait and see what happens. So right now we're sitting at 3480 major psych zone. When I say psych zone or psych levels, I'm talking about psychological zones and psychological levels that the banks like to move markets towards. So there are certain numbers, whole numbers that the banks and the technical traders they have in these institutions they push price towards, and that's really good keys that you can use to identify where price is going or where it might have a reaction at. So as we saw this resistance sitting here, and now in this candle, we're waiting to see if it closes or breaks above. If it breaks above, okay, buyers are still in. They might push price back up to here, collect this liquidity that's sitting here, or they could just be a fake out here off this candle, and then we see it reverse to the downside. So, like I said, it's just wait and see. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it. We have NFP coming up this week. That's like the most major news, really. Since the month just started, first Friday of the month, we got NFP, non-farm payrolls. This is like the biggest catalyst in a lot of decision making in what direction the market will go. Because jobs is very important, and if people aren't making money, people can't invest into the market. People can't make the economy move. So look out for that on Friday. And yeah, pretty much we're just in a wait and see right now with gold and see what structure forms. But yeah, that's all I have.
Yeah, man. Especially with gold running up crazy like this, where we definitely gotta be cautious with getting in buys because there definitely is gonna be a major pullback. We just don't know when. Is it gonna break the whole 35 psychological number, or is it gonna pull back right before? So I would, for me
Right.
personally, I'll be looking for that break of 3,500 and then that retest, or a pullback before we get a rejection at 3,500 and see how far of a pullback we get before we find support and push up higher. So if we reject 3,500, I might scalp puts to the bottom of your zone 34, 35 around that area. And if we
Yeah.
start to find support around there, I'll definitely try to hop in on some buys to push out through above 3,500.
Yeah. So definitely, it's something to watch for sure. Because especially with gold, it can really move in any direction it wants to. Like, yeah, it's a pretty clear picture on how gold has been moving recently, but that hasn't always been the case. Like, you can have crazy, crazy moves that come out of nowhere. So you have to be careful when you're seeing momentum just come in. So that's why it's cautious to see. Okay, we have our zone. We understand where sellers and buyers are sitting. The last buyers are sitting right here at this level. All of this is just open space. Obviously, this is all buying momentum, but that momentum can wear out and sellers can come in because as we've seen, like, this is a pretty big zone for sellers to keep rejecting. You know what I'm saying? So this could just be okay, a break, come back down to here, like you said, to 34, 35, and more than likely, with all of this support, this can easily turn into rejection or resistance, or all of this resistance can easily turn into support,
Yeah.
and then we can see price move off of NFP that comes out. So if anything, we'd see sellers come in right now. Throughout the week, we see price go in a bearish fashion towards NFP, and then boom, the reaction off of NFP shoots price to the new high. That's what we could see, but obviously I can't tell the future, so it's just, yeah, wait and see what happens.
Beautiful. That's perfect. So that pretty much wraps up our weekly outlook. Um, yeah, just we want to make it nice, short, sweet, and simple. It's a little bit of a shorter week. We did have Memorial Day on Monday today, so we're only gonna have 4 days of market open. But let's just sit back and let's be like data collectors. Let's see what the market's gonna do. We're at major zones here, and originally the stock market does tend to sell off in September. So let's be a little bit more cautious with that. Let's see how gold reacts while the stock market sells off a bit. And yeah, just keep our eyes out on key levels and, you know, take our trades on A plus setups when all our confluences come together. And yeah, keep an eye out on all my swing trades. I even call that as well. But all right, we're going to see you live trading tomorrow. Peace out, y'all.